Perfect. Yeah, my name is Meier. I'm now since 20 years at the Siemens company, doing kind of software engineering and working with open source, started from user, contributor, maintainer, and so on, for about 25 years already. So still having fun doing stuff like this. And I guess a lot of you have seen the brand Siemens within their kitchen, but we are not the kitchen oven fridge company. That's Bosch. What we are doing is technology stuff. We do a bunch of stuff. We have nearby 300,000 people at the company in different domains. So, for example, in the car industry, you might know Solid Edge and those frameworks where you can engineer your engines or factory automation. So this is there we have one of the biggest software project written in C# on the planet. That's a tool suite to engineer production lines. So this is used within car industry, but you have bottle industry like the Coca-Cola or the Nestle and so on, all over. Typically, the people that are designing those manufacturing facilities are using those engineering tools to connect all the different kind of devices, of course. We do the charging stations you might have seen. That's, of course, a growing business. I was working within R&D for about 15 years in the Building Technologies division, where we have the headquarters in Zug, Switzerland. They're developing especially embedded systems based on Linux. So we produce our own Raspberry Pi-like CPU modules at the factory in Zug, for example, and those end up then, for example, at those fire pans you've seen at the entrance, the Siemens fire panels, where you see all the alerts, where you have up to 60,000 fire detectors connected, stuff like this. There, of course, we use Linux, then we have a bunch of our own software logic and so on. You can imagine within fire detectors, there might be many amount of open source, but of course on those operating systems, it's not worth to develop. We had in the past in some divisions or organizations at Siemens our own operating system, real-time operating systems and so on, but you can imagine the effort we spent developing and maintaining such pieces. Of course, also in the building automation area domain, we do a lot of different kind of solutions in the facility management. But I just want to give you quickly a brief overview. Also in train, a modern train has about 12 to 20 computer systems within one wagon. So as they have to communicate with in between, if you switch between different countries, you can't stop the train and then connect to the new control system there from France to Germany or whatever. And they run the things for about 20 years. So you need to be able to replace all those things. You can't have a vendor telling you, sorry, for this particular CPU operating system, we only have to 5 years, and then afterwards you have to replace. And then you have to tell your customers, sorry, all your rolling stock needs to be replaced because of our software vendor and stuff like this. You can imagine. That's, of course, a lot of those areas we use open source all over, also in the healthcare industry, within MRI, for example. There are some particular areas where we're using Debian Linux, for example. Come to that a bit later. So basically, it's from 0 to 99%, I would say, somehow, the amount of open source software within our products. Of course, we have also, let's say, the IoT 2050, that's a hardware platform where you can get the operating system and all the things open source, but that's not kind of a final product. It's kind of a SDK-like product where you can build on top stuff you want to have. That's a different story maybe. But if you look at the maturity of open source adoption. That's somehow a little bit graphics I was boring. Oh, I forgot to add the source here. I'm very sorry. I don't know, who is here at the level 1? I used open source by accident, or I don't know if I'm using open source software. Hey, don't be shy, it's not shame. Hey, we're here to talk about the topic. Repetitive. So, of course, we have at the company, also at Siemens company, when we have an acquisition, there might be some new startup that is just using open source stuff and so on. But then, of course, they join the company, we have the policy, are you allowed to use that kind of license for that purpose? If you're using GPL, then you can do this and that, etc., etc. So, having more and more policies in place, I guess a bunch of you have policies in place, right? Number 2, they have policies. Then, of course, directed, actively contributing. And that's something I tell all the folks at the company continuously to do the upstream first. Just imagine if you have a complex piece of software and you have to modify it to run on a special hardware or environment or whatever. You might end up with a patch set that might be, I don't know, 20, 30. I've seen patch sets that are 1,500 A4 pages. And just imagine the engineering and cost effort to bring that patch set to a next version. I'm talking now, for example, Linux kernel. Of course, it's a little bit a special thing, as we do a lot with Linux on the embedded systems, but even for a smaller thing, you're then unable to really update to the next new version, getting new features, etc., and then you end up in a maintenance nightmare. So that's, from my perspective, so important to reduce the maintenance effort. You must contribute. And of course, you also have then proper review from the people that are super familiar with the components, they know the direction. Often, it's also just last Monday, as I'm playing around a little bit right now with open source LLMs. There's an inference framework that was unable to deregister the worker nodes if you're in a in a distributed setup. I just found the bug there on GitHub. End of the week, yesterday, it was fixed already. And I think that's important. It starts really with reporting a bug already. Sometimes you have a maintainer of an open source project that had some idea, when I have time, I'm going to do this and that. If nobody asks for it, it will not happen. It will stay there somewhere on the local disk drive or whatever. That's why also reporting issues or contributing to documentation and so on is so important. And of course, we also have other areas where we are actively driving direction of open source projects or even initiating open source initiatives. But you can imagine, in such a large company, we have the whole range. I'm happy to see that we also have today all kind of levels here on site. In general, I would say open source is not only about getting something, being faster. From my perspective, it's a lot about culture and collaboration culture. How do we interact with each other, doing that in an open, transparent way? And that's one of the reasons why we started during that time at my department, where we developed those embedded systems with local coding platform and then opening up to all the folks. So, of course, you can say, hey, you have to collaborate, hey, you go to the open source world and so on. But some people might not feel comfortable, and you need to become familiar with the way of working, also with the transparency. So you can go on GitHub and see there my handle, buffer overflow, and you see all the stuff I did. I did something wrong at the typo here and there. You must be kind of okay with being not perfect. And there's still people struggle, and sometimes I struggle as well. But this is what we did here in Switzerland now, it's 7.5 years ago, we started within my department and then opened up our internal platform I made for my department to the whole company. Now we have the whole company, about over 70,000 people registered on the platform, are using it day by day, building their software, deploying their software, a bunch of solutions that we are offering to our customers, thousands of like the charging, the chargers, or the industrial edge and so on are developed on the platform. With a little team of people that do really believe into the topic of collaboration, and together we can do more. It's always cool. For example, we do the hardcore collaboration also within the team. If I have an important email or something, often I say, hey folks, give me a little review. We use, for example, our platform day by day. We do all our stuff internally on the platform. And if you believe into something, go ahead and do it. As Max did with this event, why are we here? You might have been the first person just thinking about, hey, that's what we have to do, but then finding other people, and the idea with that Code Siemens Commit started, I had one like, as you can see. It's just, but then other people talked to other people about the idea, and then we made it happen. And we started to operate it in an open source way. You can imagine, typically within the corporate environment, you have kind of the help desk, then the first level having no clue, then the second level, then the third level support, and all those things. We operate the whole platform, also for that amount of people, fully transparent. Everyone at the company, every employee can see our issue tracker, can see what's going on, can report issues. We are interacting directly with the people on our internal social network, and on our issue tracker we have a bunch of documentation, etc. To really bring in also that kind of community, open source way of working in collaboration style into the company. People see what we are doing, we provide details about the platform, metrics, and all those things, and being as transparent as possible in the same way as you would act in the open source world. And so people start doing the same. And that's kind of an interesting thing, so kind of bringing the fire, and then all the people, they want to do more. And of course, we built also a bunch of new features for the software GitLab we are using there for our platform. Instead of asking a vendor, can we have this and this feature, and so on, we have one person dedicated that is only contributing new functionality to the GitLab software, for example. So we're one of the biggest contributors there in regard of new features from external. Of course, they have a bunch of their own engineers, but if you really want to have a feature or something in within an open source component, build it and you have it. If the maintainer accepts it, of course, they're gonna tell you, hey, you have to rework this, you have to rework this, and please, Roger, here, I want to have a unit test, and etc., etc. But in general, you get much better quality by the crowd. And to push that forward, we also started to organize internal summit, inner source summit. So basically, let's say for the non-open source folks, inner source is kind of just applying the open source way of working and collaboration aspects to the company in-house, so opening up the code, opening up collaboration across departments and pushing that forward. So we had there 3 summits already. We invited also some special guests like our CTO, or last year we had the CIO there, to getting more, let's say, bottom-up and top-down support to really bring that together. So that people understand, hey, if we do share code and if we reuse internally, we can save a lot of money. Because otherwise you have then between the silos, department XYZ, why did they not deliver this? But if you have access to the code and if you're knowledgeable, then you're able to contribute that little feature or bug fix directly to their code base. And the cool thing right now, we have some components where we have 1,500 pre-users internally. Just imagine if you do the same, develop the same component 1,500 times internally. Of course, big corporations can afford it, but hey, if you then later on meet each other, we did exactly develop the fucking same thing, sorry for the word, that's not so cool. So better to share, reuse and contribute, and that's what we do a lot. And also the latest thing, the developer.siemens.com, it's a public developer portal where we provide SDKs, API documentation and so on. It's developed internally in an inner source way. So we have people from all over the company are contributing their documentation to one repository, which will then be the public-facing developer portal. So in the past it was kind of, go to that platform or send your documentation here and there and having tons of different kind of CMS systems, but nowadays people are collaborating internally on the coding platform to the customer-facing documentation across the businesses. Usually have those situations, I guess you might have all seen it, even it starts, I don't know, maybe if you have 30 people within a company, it starts a little bit the silo thing, and that's important too. If you establish such a culture, and we are still working on it, we want to have more and more and more, we have still some silos and people don't want to collaborate, but I guess it's important that people see that it can be successful, and I would say a lot of people, also younger talents, they want to collaborate in such a way. And then later on, we did all that platform, and then a long time ago I thought, hey, we need the inner source Siemens.com website, we need to attract employees and so on, and of course we're in contact with a lot of folks as we were running that platform across the organization. We started with a little event web page for us. Now we have all the details about the open source projects we are running, we're contributing to the events we're talking, the events we're organizing, or events we're talking at. So this presentation is already online there, under talks, for example. And since a while, we do also support open source projects by sponsoring. So that's also kind of nice. You have on github.com, they're supporting sponsoring. There are different kind of channels you can do so. But I guess the money we've spent internally to go through all the processes to do that in a compliant way was probably more expensive than the money we've spent to the open source maintainers. But as usual, it's kind of the first time, it hurts, but then as soon as you're in to the thing, you can do it and repeat it, and of course also then engage other folks at the company to do so and join the training. So just one little component, for example, a documentation theme we are using in several areas. We are also now sponsoring that. We're using it since many years, and it's kind of give and take. So giving something back to the community and to the folks that are doing the maintenance work. If you've been maintainer or are maintainer of open source project, I guess you know the effort, answering all the questions, helping all the people. Everyone wants to have his feature in, and it's a lot of effort to maintain open source projects. And also, of course, we were talking with the Mercedes guys and different kind of companies, and it was a bit stuck. The open source manifest, we phrased the things, a few things a little bit different, and the internal process took quite a while. And then my colleague Florian, who was driving this, told me, hey man, hey, all the guys in the middle, what's going on? I said, hey, let's just send the email to the CTO of the company and to the CIO. They know us anyway, directly. And he did so, and within half a day we got answers from the two of them. And our CTO said, hey guys, maybe we should sign it with blood. And then just put it on our website. And that's why we have now on our manifesto webpage on opensource.com also the people signing. We have the apprentice nearby, the CTO, and so on, people committing to the idea and the concept of the open source manifesto. This was kind of a cool journey. And yeah, stuff like this, it takes time. But if you're a small company, you might do stuff much faster. And when here you can see in the past it was kind of the Siemens Building Technologies Group in Switzerland many years ago. I don't know if some of you might know Debian Sarge. That's a super old Debian distro. And of course you can do money, support open source projects by money, but also stuff like this. Hey, we are using your products because they're nice, or in that case Debian. We have our own Debian-based embedded distro based on Debian, for example. We use it for tracks and train stations as an example, or MRI scanners, etc. It's giving something back. Here, I was just creating the merge requests there on the salsa.debian.org, interacting with the folks, and told them, hey, I did the forward thing, and so on. But usually you're just kind of a few Git commits and merge requests away. Of course, after getting through comms department with the fancy text and other things that might be shortened to the URL. We do not build ovens or fridges. We are building computers and engineering tools, for example, and that's also those industrial computer systems you can put on a boat, or they're putting it into trains and this and that, and of course there we also contribute to the Linux kernel itself to have proper support for all our drivers. Could be simple stuff like just the LEDs or the watchdog timer, but that's how we're interacting with the folks, also the kernel community. We have a bunch of folks do stuff at the Linux kernel. Also the time, as mentioned before, also for building infrastructure. You can imagine you don't want to replace the building automation system or the fire system within a building every 5 years as you do with your mobile phone. Same for trains. You have contracts, you want to have those things are then 20 years there in place. This was one of the reasons why we were fixing the 2038 bug within Linux kernel and glibc. It took years, but now we're able to ship systems that will survive the 2038 on 32-bit systems. And we founded this civil infrastructure platform. So we have there, for example, for the Linux kernel, not only the long-term Linux support, the LTS, we have the super long-term support for the Linux kernel, where we have folks backporting important security patches to this super long-term tree so that we are able, and other of our industrial partners are able to ship that kernel to their industrial environments, such as train, building automation, or whatever long-running environment you might have. And of course, we also do open source events. Kristen has been there already. You're welcome if you're interested to have some presentations there, or if you want to join on site, let me know. We did it 10 times already. A similar thing as Max does here with that event. Start small, just a few people, first only Siemens folks, and then later on people from external companies. Now we have kind of a 50% Siemens, 50% external speakers mix, and we're streaming the whole event to the full public. for 2 days. Kind of nice. Also, people at the company, they're now joining us here in Switzerland for the 2 days. Some last little inspirations maybe. Of course, construction and software industry are quite different, but I'm pretty sure we're able to learn a lot from each other. And for me, still one of the most impressive thing was kind of the Gotthard base tunnel. They were able to deliver that huge project in time. Holy moly. I want to see a software project at such a size being delivered in time. Just imagine. I guess then the other things, of course, also as mentioned by Max already, the open standards and the data formats are so essential to really have a proper interoperability, but also to really get speed on implementing the things. Otherwise, you have here the workaround, here the workaround, here the data transformation, and here the data transformation. So I'm not that familiar, of course. We also have a lot of folks at the company working with building information model and stuff like this, but I'm sorry, I'm not an expert on that topic. I can feedback maybe some input, but yeah. And another thing, those daily stand-ups and all those procedures people start to implement, we do now the agile software development, etc., etc. Personally, I hate those daily stand-ups, to be honest. I think agility is a team attribute, so important is that you are able to act agile as a team, and that's why people are the most important thing. So you need to have a good relation with each other to being able to act agile. It's not kind of a process. The process is the daily stand-up. What have you done today? What have you done today? And stuff like this. So I guess it's more a people thing. Yeah. So yeah, maybe some questions, or we're already close to the thing. I'm around till not the end, but for a while.
We'll also be in the round table, where we have more time to talk. But if there's one urgent question, we probably would put it in. Otherwise, we save it for later. Thank you very much.
Cool.
All of you. Thank you.